What's up, guys? Blue Moon Mining here. And this video is just kind of out of nowhere. Um, just because I had some talks and stuff between people, and some people believe that Bitcoin mining become more efficient over time, and some people don't believe that it can get more efficient over time. And I stand at I believe it can get more efficient over time as technology advances. Some people like to correlate the Bitcoin difficulty to efficiency, and I don't see a correlation between that because difficulty doesn't necessarily affect the amount of efficiency you can get out of a miner, because difficulty isn't the technicalities of the actual miner and the chips inside the miner itself. And that's why I had a difficult time agreeing with the notion that Bitcoin mining's difficulty affects how efficient a miner can be. And I just want to go over some talking points. This is all just based off of my knowledge on how these things work. I have a lot of knowledge in technology. No, I never studied technology or anything. I just have a lot of knowledge through research and curiosity, because I do believe that Bitcoin miners can become more efficient as technology advances, and it has been pretty much proven by some of the miners that are coming out, such as the Bitmain X or Antminer, the Bitmain Antminer S19XP. It's getting 140 terahash at 310 watts, which is doing great compared to the last S19, like the S19J Pros or one of the 110 terahash. Those only do 110 terahash at 3250 watts. Now, how did this efficiency change? Well, it changed because they switched the chip size from, I believe, 7 nanometer to 5 nanometer. Smaller chips contain a lot more power, but they also are a lot more efficient, as the technology is, of course, more advanced as we move towards smaller and smaller chip sizes. 5 nanometers is it's tiny, and it's very easy to pack a lot of power into it, but not put out or not raise the wattage uses as and it all just depends on how it's manufactured and stuff, of course. The amount of chips that they put in. Of course, each one of those 5 nanometer chips is going to be very powerful compared to the old generation of S19 compared to the new generation of S19, because they're using smaller tech and it's more advanced tech compared to those older generations. Therefore, they can use less chips, reducing the power draw in the end. So less chips, but producing more. Let's just say terahash, because that's what we're at right now. We don't have any miners producing petahash worth of power, and we could see that in the future. You don't know. Bitcoin is continuing to grow and grow every day. Whether the price is lower or higher, Bitcoin is always changing. It's a very volatile coin, and of course, it's the biggest coin on the market, and it's kind of hard to beat Bitcoin and what it's done for people and what it can do in the future, because it holds a lot of potential in it. Now, it is a very touchy subject going into efficiency, because there's going to be a lot of different disagreements between a lot of people, and even myself. People are going to disagree with me when I need to drink water. But I know there's going to be disagreements, and it's okay to have your opinion, as this is my opinion, and I just kind of want to state it, and I want to go over why I think it can become a more efficient miner as times go on. Like, more and more miners, the smaller and smaller the chip size gets. I don't know the reasoning behind why the smaller chips are getting more power out of it. Um, I can't get that technical, but I can do some research and figure out why. But it could just be with the advancing technology and just the way they can write onto these actual chipsets. It could also be the silicone that they use in it. Um, of course, you're not always going to get the exact hash rate. As for everything that they put on the specifications here are averages. So they're not going to be completely accurate. They average it out across many miners because I guess they don't really go into terms on how they test. They get the specifications of these miners. Basically, they test multiple miners at one time, and they kind of see what the hash rate is between each one of them and the power draw of each one of them, and they average it out so then they can get the number for advertising purposes. Now, if you look at this number right here, that's very advertiser friendly. Who wouldn't want to get 140 terahash at 310 watts? We can go here and look. I have it at 8 cents. Hold on. So go to 12 cents. That's what ASIC miner value usually has it at. So if you want to go there, scroll down, you can find it 140 terahash. You are still netting a profit in a very crap market as it is right now. And it's good to be netting a profit, but it's also good if it's also not bad if you're netting a loss. Depending on how high the loss is, say you're losing 80 cents, if you can afford that out of pocket, that's not a huge loss on your part. It does add up over time, of course, as anything does, but if you can afford it out of pocket, that's on you, that's good for you. But, of course, advertising, 140 terahash, 310 watts, or 3010 watts. That's average. Some people may see higher hash rate and higher wattage usage, or they may see lower hash rate and lower wattage uses. It all depends on the quality of the silicone in the actual chipset. There's hundreds of chips inside a typical miner. I believe the S19 Pro had about 390 something or 380 something. Don't quote me, I don't know the exact amount of chips in it, but it was a very high amount. And of course, the more chips you put into a miner, the more wattage it's going to use. So S19, just search it up. I was talking about the S19 Pro right here, 110 terahash, 3250 watts. This has around 300 some odd chips in it. So what I'm assuming is that when they switch to smaller chipset on the S19 is due to the higher power, or the more power in those smaller chips, they were able to put less, therefore lowering the power draw. It has nothing to necessarily do with the difficulty. The difficulty is just there because the more hash rate that's added, the more difficult it's going to get. Difficulty is only correlated with the hash rate, which is pretty common knowledge between crypto mining, is that the higher the hash rate, the more difficult it's going to be because there's more people mining. There's, what is that, 538,000 or 5 million, I don't even know what that is, some odd miners on the network right now. That's a lot of people mining. And it's crazy to know that, but it's true. There's a lot of miners, therefore the difficulty is going to be very high because we are in the exahash. I believe, I don't know, is Bitcoin the only one in the exahash right now? I could be wrong, but Bitcoin may be the only actual coin in exahash. Bitcoin Cash is actually gaining into it. The network hash rate does say 1.5 exahash, but that's nothing compared to 278 to 253 exahash. And the difficulty, it's gone down and it's gone up. But never in a day when the difficulty's gone down did you see ASIC miners' efficiency go up. So back July 31st, 2022, it had a dip here. Did anyone see their S19 miners efficiency go up? I doubt they did. Um, this is another reason I can say that difficulty has nothing to do between efficiency. Efficiency is all to do with the technicalities of the miner, the chips in the miner, the amount of power that those chips require, the amount of chips. I don't know if I already said that, but the more chips you have, the more power you're going to need. The less chips you have, but the higher quality and more advanced the chips are, the less power. And that's how it's always going to work. Um, the thing about, like you say, look at like a new graphics card, like a 4090 or something. They're also using the 5 nanometer chipset, from what I'm aware of. But it uses a lot of power. You see, of course, it's going to lose a lot of power. But I forgot they did something. But I know that GPUs have a set watt limit. If you were to get rid of that set watt limit, a lot of these miners will go up. But I know that it's not always just one chip inside of graphics cards and stuff. There's a lot of things going on underneath it all. So it's kind of, the thing about graphics cards is you have to also take into account the memory and stuff. Everything on that PCB is using power. So if you've looked at the new 4090 PCB, it is filled. Let's see if I can get it. Let's see if I can get a photo of what it looks like. Like, that thing is just packed to the freaking brim. Look at it. There's not a space on there. The 4090, it's just filled with these mini memory chips and memory modules. It has this huge die right in the middle. It has all this stuff that needs to power. So that's the thing about graphics cards. That's where most of the power comes from. All that wattage usage that's coming from all the small little things that are actually on the PCB. Now, ASIC miners, they don't really have a lot going on the PCB. It's mostly just a bunch of chips and a giant heat sink. Let's just look at an S19 PCB. That's pretty much what the PCB looks like on an S19. You see these heat sinks all over the place. Each one of those heat sinks are covering a die or a chip, and basically that's the memory stuff. This is the memory modules and stuff on it. The PCB is pretty bare. So that's why I don't really like comparing graphics cards between ASIC miners, because ASIC miners are they're technically always going to be more efficient than a graphics card if you take into account how much hash rate it pulls compared to the wattage, the hash to watt ratio. Which I'm not going to really do much of that right now. I'm not going to go into detail. There are a lot of other things that take into account to power usage, like the fans and all that stuff, but they ASIC miners do have, like the big ASIC miners do have very power intensive fans, considering they have to keep hundreds of little chips cool compared to a graphics card that just needs to keep all the memory chips and stuff. But it's still kind of crazy how they use 400 watts for a graphics card. But I don't want to get into that. I'm focusing on efficiency, not in graphics cards, but in ASIC miners, in the SHA-256 algorithm, specifically the Bitcoin algorithm. So I don't know. I just something just grinded my gears when I was arguing or going over the difficulty correlation between efficiency and stuff. Efficiency is never going to be affected by the difficulty. The only thing that's going to be affected by the difficulty is the amount of money you're making a day. And the difficulty is only going to be affected by the amount of hash rate. So that's the thing. I don't know. I just had to go over it. It's just been bugging me for the last few days, and it's very technical. I could get onto a technical side And you know that would make it. I would have to do like a freaking live stream for that and just really just blow it up, because it's hard to explain the chips. But you know, a 5 nanometer chip power draw. It's just basically, I don't know. I'd have to go look more into it, but I'm just saying, it's efficiency has nothing to do with the difficulty. It's possible to make ASIC miners more efficient. It's just the technology isn't quite to that point yet. We need to have more powerful chips, more uh, really high quality silicon that we could put these chips with. And it takes a very long process to get these things made because it's so small. You have to have this very high tech technology working on it, and it's a lot. It's a lot of technical things that go into making these chips, and then just assembling them to get the right amount of efficiency. There's a lot of testing that goes into uh, ASIC miners. You know, they will go through possibly hundreds of different models or tests of what it could be to get the most efficient or most powerful miner they can get on the market. It takes years to develop these things, and the 5 nanometer technology hasn't been out for that long, from what I'm aware of. Um, 5 nanometer chip size looks like 2019 is when they started sampling it for Apple and stuff. So it hasn't been around for a very long time, and I could bet a sweet dollar that they are working on working on uh, processing an even smaller chipset, and it's going to continue to get smaller, and it's going to continue to get more advanced and less power demanding, but more powerful at the same time. And as this technology develops and as this technology advances, we're going to see more efficient miners on the market, and it's always going to continue to be that way. Now, you can look at this and say that's not efficient, it's using 3,000 watts. But you got to remember, this technology has come a long way from what it was. Um, Back when Bitcoin came out, you're mining it on a CPU. That's not even heard of. You're getting. I tested it. I actually put my CPU on a mine on Bitcoin to see how much hash rate it get. It was getting kilohash, like not even hash. It was getting kilohash. It was getting the lowest it could possibly get. Now, this is a new generation. Well, it's a ninth generation Intel, so it's been around since ninth gen Intel CPUs. Um, so around 2018. So almost near the time that the 5 nanometer was being worked on. So it's relatively new, not as powerful. I mean, I can game on this thing pretty freaking decent with a 3060 Ti, but I'm just saying, like, the technology is really advanced. Like, if I were to take 300 some of those CPU chips and put them in an ASIC miner, they're not going to stack up compared to what technology that they use in actual ASIC miners today. So I'm kind of getting off track here, but that's that. I'm just trying to sum up the video here. Is that no, in my opinion, difficulty does not affect the efficiency of ASIC miners. ASIC miners' efficiency is dependent on the chips that they use, the technology that we are currently in or currently have available to us at this current moment in time, and the amount of chips that they actually put on to the PCBs into the ASIC miners. Now, looking at, say, the new Hydro miners that they are releasing, like this one, it's getting $30 a day. These are relatively small compared to the other ASIC miners, the actual S19s. These are smaller, and the reason why is because they most likely were using less chips meaning that they could have smaller PCBs, and it's of course all liquid cooled on the inside. Internally, it is liquid cooled. So it's all about the technology that we use. It is possible to get more efficient miners, and the difficulty is never going to affect the efficiency of the miners. And I don't know if this is going to necessarily help people understand. Like, I want to do another video too to explain how solo mining works so Hot Crypto can watch it, because I was watching that damn Saturday night live stream they were doing, and he was going off about solo mining and stuff, and I just really wanted to get on that and just start talking about solo mining, because I've done a lot of research to figure these things out, and I really just like to share my knowledge and opinion on these things. I may not seem like the smartest fellow alive, but I try my best to do research before I come spitting out random knowledge or random facts or anything. I wanna let people, you know, have a basic understanding of these things. So, anyways, I don't want to push this video on too long. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope it kind of gave some idea of what my thought process is. It's kind of sporadic, so don't get too crazy. Don't get mad at me. I just had to get it off my chest and just kind of go into things. So, if you guys are having a great day, that's great. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of it, and see you guys in the next one. Peace out.